Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers review, what we call this post-match briefing. Myself and Chris Jackey would speak about the most eagerly anticipated friendly match of all time. Chris, you've went and watched Rangers Standard Liege, which is a behind closed door games, and I kind of feel like this isn't a game that's been streamed back home, so you've seen some grand new universe that we are not privy to, and you're going to have to try and translate this game for us. A bit of a strange arrangement, and not a usual one that a behind closed door game would be played like this. But if people don't know what we're talking about, or maybe just catching up, this is the first day of our pre-season diary. Rangers out in the Netherlands. Chris is going to be bringing you all the best coverage, be it interviews, video analysis like this, exclusive interviews, all that and more every single day. So on top of the morning briefing, expect an extra podcast. But first, Chris, we're going to speak about this game. Rangers 0, Standard Liege 0. First, tell us what happened, because we don't know. All I know is that Alex Lowry hit the post. James Tavernier, Dujon Sterling and Todd Campbell did not play. Give us a flavour of the game overall, and then we'll get into a bit more detail.
You have stolen my thunder. That was my opening line. I've got nothing else to give you. No, it's safe to say it was not a classic. I think as pre-season games go, it was what it was. It's a runabout, it's a kickabout, it's match minutes. The squad trained this morning, much like they did when you were out in Manga with about the turn of the year. Trained in the morning and then had the game in the afternoon. So it's really the manager trying to put as much of a load into the players as possible. Apart from that, very, very little in terms of chances, very, very little in terms of the Rangers actually creating. I think overall they were probably the better side. Jack Butland made a couple of decent saves. Rangers had chances first half. Cortez just wide from the edge area. Tom Lawrence put one over from about 25 yards or so. Second half, now you mentioned the Alex Lowry one that came late on. There was one from Cole McKinnon as well, a shot from the edge of the box. Deflected. The keeper actually did really well to get down to that one and keep palm it away. And that was like Kieran Dill had one late on after picking up a good position just in like a right hand channel inside the area. Apart from that, the main takeaway, if you're Philippe Clement, you're the coaching staff, and I dare say if you're the squad, it's match minutes, it's game time, it's another small step, and I think that's all they will take for it. And they go back to the team hotel tonight, they can rest up, they can recuperate, and they then back on the training ground tomorrow, building up over the next couple of days into that game against Ajax. And I think once you get the Ajax game done and this trip is over and done with, I think that's when the manager will start to look for a bit more in terms of those relationships on the pitch, trying to work on some things tactically, perhaps then thinking of who's making an impression in terms of going forward. The start of the league campaign then won't be that far away. So I think this game, it is what it is. It's all about fitness. It's all about people getting through it. So one of the points I made in my report that's on the site is don't read too much into it. That's easier said than done.
It's impossible. I know we say that on the best of occasions, Chris, but your words are absolute gospel in relation to this game. So it's impossible. But it is literally a pre-season game behind closed doors. But as ever, James Sken here saying it's all about fitness, and that is true. With Rangers, it's always a little bit different, and in this particular summer, it's a little bit different too. If you want to get your questions in for Chris, I'll pose as many about the game as possible. I just want to read out the teams, Chris, that was played in the first half and the second half. So it was Jack Butland, Leon King, presumably at right back. Is that right? Yeah. John Suter, Ben Davies, Ridvan Yilmaz, Diomande, Barron, McCausland, Lawrence, Cortez, who was replaced by Robbie Fraser after half an hour, and that was, I saw from the Rangers match report, apparently a planned 30 minutes. Cyril Dessers up top. Second half, Butland. So Butland remained in goals for the whole game?
Yes, Butland was only man that gets 90 minutes.
Okay, and Liam Kelly was in the stand. He's the only new signing aside from Connor Barron, who's over there at the moment. Leon Balogun then came on to play right back. Connor Goldson, Nsiala, Chefty, McKinnon, Raskin, Wright, Dowell Fraser, and Curtis with Ravi Matondo and Alex Lowry coming on. So a few points on those positions specifically before we talk about absences, Chris, and some of the questions that are being posed in the comment section. Two not nominal right backs, Leon King and Leon Balogun. Presumably that's because you had James Tavernier and Dujon Sterling not playing. Any word of why Tavernier, Sterling and Campbell weren't playing? Again, because this is a behind closed door game, normally these things wouldn't come out. But you expect that's to do with fitness, to do with sharpness. There's no reason why they wouldn't otherwise be playing because it's not a televised game.
I think it maybe just depends on their load. I think it depends what the manager has been able to do with them over the course of the trip so far. We are due to speak to the manager tomorrow, and of course, injuries and fitness and rehab was such a big talking point over last season. It will be a talking point again over this season. Something that we'll put to him when we speak to him at some point tomorrow. Tav and Zach Lovelace, Danilo, Todd Cantwell sat in front of the three press guys over here. They sat in a couple of rows in front of us and watched the game there. They never got stripped. So King started right back in the first half. Leon Balogun played right back in the second half. And obviously that's not going to be a long-term solution. No, whatever the future holds. Whatever the future holds for James Tavernier, it's not going to end up with Leon King playing right back for Rangers. So it's just a case of allowing him to get some match minutes in the tank. So I think there's a number of things like that are notional. It's just about doing the best for the players rather than planning too much ahead of what's going to actually unfold with this side.
We love contrasting views at the Rangers review, and William here saying, do people not realise players are at different fitness levels and then have different programmes? That's why some wouldn't have been playing. And a contrasting comment saying, it's hardly early days, 3 weeks into pre-season, and the squad is a complete joke, got Champions League qualifiers soon. So some contrasting opinions there. Before we get to more comments, Chris, who stood out? I know it's difficult. It's a 0-0 draw, isn't it? I'm going to reverse roles and pose a little question from you and Dixon here to you that says, any tactical changes noticeable, Chris? It was that 4-2-3-1 again. Presumably, again, I guess we can read into it to an extent that we think this is a system that Clement is going to continue with. Was there anything that stood out in particular? Were there any players that stood out? Maybe Connor Barron, I'm thinking of, who was making a start, although it's not a competitive debut for Rangers.
I think Barron's the one that you probably look at. I think that Barron Diomande partnership, we think that could be the two in that area of the pitch, and we've spoken a lot about how Rangers will shape up middle to front. I think from what we've seen so far, Diomande is obviously going to be one of the starters, and the squad as it stands, it will be between Barron and Nico Raskin, who got the second half for that other slot. I thought Barron looked really good, made a couple of challenges which you perhaps don't expect for this time of the season. He did put himself about, look comfortable on the ball. I think he can certainly be pleased with a good run out. Apart from that, not a lot in terms of standouts. Good to get a look at Hefty at left back. Good to get a look at Nsiala playing alongside Connor Goldson, but very, very hard to tell too much about them in terms of their strengths or their weaknesses. I say both teams not quite going through the motions, but I think Rangers started the second half with a bit more zip about them. But obviously, as it goes on, there's then a couple of more changes made, and it can become difficult for players to make an impact when, again, Standard then made like 5 changes at the one time. So it's not really an ideal time to really get a proper look at players. I think, again, one of the points I make in the piece on the site, turn the attention to Ajax. You expect to see a wee bit more, and then when Rangers then back in the UK, you've got Man United coming up, you've also got Birmingham, you've then got Union Berlin game, and by the time you certainly get to those second two, or the latter two, you're then really looking to see a squad and a team taking a bit more shape, and by that time, hopefully there will be some more new arrivals. Because I think when I was going through that piece, I was writing the first half squad and your second half squad, the guys that didn't play. There's a lot of names there. There's a lot of players that are over here with Rangers. How many of them? We see the comments. We do these shows every day. How many of them are nailed down members of that squad that the fans are really happy with and comfortable with? There's not that many. I think that need for quality and that need for reinforcements is only going to be heightened over the coming days and over the coming weeks.
One player who came closest for Rangers, Chris, Alex Lowry. Where did he come on up top, or was he on the left or number 10?
Came on through the middle for Finlay Curtis, sporting a new bleach blonde. I took a second glance to actually realise that it was Alec. He was really unlucky with the chance. Actually, a nice effort just for the edge of the box. It came off the post. On another day, it maybe comes off the other side and goes in. So that was the closest that Rangers came on the day. I think it's just important for him just to go and play football. And again, he was someone that we spoke about on the show a couple of weeks ago. had that loan at Hearts. We thought this is his chance. He's going to go and establish himself. He'll then come back to Rangers, a better player, more experience, and he's then going to challenge for one of those number 10 spots. I had a piece on the site last week looking at that number 10 role. You could easily write off all of them. If you wanted to be really, really harsh about it, you could say there's half a dozen guys there in that position. None of them are going to be nailed down. None of them arguably deserve a shot. We spoke to Kieran Dowell, actually, one of those six after the game. He spoke a wee bit about how Clement has changed his role. Interesting to see where Alec Lowry fits into the plans, if at all. You're also then looking at Cantwell, who didn't come on at all, Lawrence, who started. So I think it served to highlight some of the strengths, but a number of the weaknesses within the squad, and that's problems that's only going to be solved with good recruitment over these coming days and weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I know we're going to talk about the new signings, the lack over the squad as that continue over the next 3 weeks, but we'll obviously reference it before the end of the show today. Let's get to a few more comments, Chris. Couple of points about Chefty. I believe I've learned to pronounce that name correctly now. Now, he is a player who Rangers have signed to play at left back, but he's also seen as someone who can play slightly higher up the pitch. Definitely think has that ability on the ball. Couple of questions here as to where he played and how he performed exactly. And I know in another behind closed door game, Ross McCausland said in your recent interview with him that they'd linked up for a goal. He was playing at left back, am I correct? What does he look like? And I realise that he's probably only touched the ball about 10 times in that game, but he's quite fast, isn't he? Was he playing at left back?
I'm looking forward to seeing your StatsBomb analysis of his 45 minutes. If StatsBomb had someone at the game, which I'm sure they did, I'm looking forward to seeing your report. I think he came in at left back. Obviously, Ridvan started and he got the first half when Cortez went off. Robbie Fraser, again, notionally everyone thinks it's going to be a left back. He actually played slightly higher up. Matondo replaced him and played on that flank as well. So Hefty got a half at left back. Looked, as you say, quick, looked direct. Apart from that, very, very hard to actually telling you. So you have to remember the level of the opposition and the fitness at the stage of the campaign that they're at as well.
I want to put a slightly different point to you, Chris, and this is from Stevie G. Presume not that one, but if it is, you never know. He says, give the manager a chance. We don't actually know what the team he's going to put out at the moment. The newbies trying to find their feet, have faith. We have some young players and quick players. My point in raising this comment, Chris, is that you kind of feel a little bit for Clement. Listen, we know about the overall situation at the moment. The discontent is loud, I would say, and understandably so. Rangers have had a rebuild before the summer before. There's only so many times you can make these promises and get the buy-in. They have signed 5 players, but 5 have also left. The squad still doesn't. There's not been as much change as people would have anticipated. So all that is there in the background for Clement. But equally, and things fell away towards the end of last season. I think there's some mitigation and injuries to that point. Equally, he'll be looking at this purely from a footballing point of view, won't he? And he'll be thinking he wants to give himself the best chance of making the best football team, and all the political issues that surround him, be it the stadium, be it the signings, be it the board discontent from fans, whatever it may be. That's not his job. His job is to make Rangers into a winning football team. And in any other normal summer, there would be some upheaval and some unrest within the squad, but the focus of our conversation very much would be, if we'd been able to watch the game, what was new, what was different, how is this player, how is their role going to maybe change, what are 2 or 3 positions that could really elevate the squad. As it is, what makes Clement's job all the more difficult is there's so much uncertainty around the squad that he's currently got out in the Netherlands. Do you think that's a fair point? Because it feels like, for this being a football pre-season training camp, so much of the, understandably, may I stress, so much of the focus from the outside and so much of the anticipation is not really yet on what the football looks like, as I say, purely because of these bigger issues that remain on the outside at the moment.
I think the modern phrase that managers use is outside noise, and they say, we focus on what's in the building and what happens outside doesn't make any difference, but it's only natural that it's going to, because it feeds into the mood amongst the fans. Ultimately, it seeps into executive level. It seeps into a dressing room. The manager cannot avoid, even if he's not a big social media user. If he doesn't spend his time on Instagram and Facebook and all our social media channels, even if he doesn't, it's impossible to ignore. There are clearly other issues at play with Rangers over the course of the summer. There's the Ibrox issue, transfers obviously a big one, injuries we touched on. There's so many different aspects to where Rangers are and where Rangers are heading at present. So if you said to the manager, is this the ideal squad that you would have liked to bring with you on a pre-season trip, he's going to say no, because clearly it's not. There are players who are in this squad who will not be in this group come the end of the campaign, or come the end of the transfer window. Sorry, there are guys who still have to come into it. Now, we spoke at the start of the window about a dozen out and a dozen in. Rangers still need to do a lot of work to remove some of the deadwood, if you like, from the group, and they have to do a lot of work to add the required strength and depth in the required areas. So that's, yes, it's still early in terms of the season, but I do understand the point people saying that we have Champions League games coming up. We've got the game against Hearts coming up, and these games, with every day it ticks on, these games come a day closer, obviously, and there's. Yeah. And the more that people see things not being done, they assume that nothing's been done, and then anger levels rise. And Rangers fans right now, they're very tetchy. I think it's maybe a polite way of putting it. And all these things do need addressed as a matter of urgency.
Yeah, I mean, the comment here from Aldo, good friend of the show, says the way some fans are acting, it's like the league is starting this weekend. And again, that's maybe the counterpoint to what you're saying there, Chris. But obviously the counterpoint to the counterpoint is the league starts in, what is it, the 3rd of August? So that's under 30 days. Listen, it is the second game of pre-season, so it's not as if we're on this video necessarily critiquing the result or the performance that you watched, but it is clear there is a lot of issues to sort out. Connor Barron, Chris, I just want to touch a little bit more on him and Nico Raskin, because the man they were playing alongside was Mohamed Diomande. Now, one of the two lines in your match report that I'm going to pick out specifically was that Diomande limped off at some point. Can you tell us what happened there? He was walking back to the dressing room. Again, this is something that would happen in a behind closed door game that wouldn't be seen, but did it look like anything serious? Because obviously, again, understandably, there's a little bit of scar tissue, if you pardon the pun, when it comes to Rangers and injuries on the basis of the last few seasons.
Hopefully it's not a serious one. Again, we'll ask the manager that when we speak to him at some point tomorrow. Hopefully, he took a knock. It seemed to take a bang in the head midway through the first half. The physio came on, and that one was fine. He was able to continue, and it was really just in the final seconds of the first half on the far side. So it was hard to see exactly what happened, but he did get a wee bit of treatment just in front of the technical area. Then was able to make his way across the pitch. He walked down the stairs into the changing area, and then came back out later on in the afternoon. He did have like a bandage or a wrap on his knee when he was doing some post-match stuff. I also met a couple of people, Fraser Robertson, who you spoke to about him from the Right to Dream Academy. He's on the Standard Liege staff, so he was doing some pictures, and he met him. So he did have that kind of wrap on his leg, but it could be wholly precautionary. No, we just don't know at this stage. So before people start going, oh no, there's another Rangers injury doubt, and that's his season done, and going way OTT. We'll try and get to the bottom of that, but hopefully nothing serious, because as I said earlier on, I think he is going to be one of those stalwarts of the team. You're then looking at Raskin, you're looking at Connor Barron, who I thought it was good playing in that role alongside him. Rangers, for me, they still need someone else. They're still looking at another midfield option. I think there will be more movement in that area of the side, but Diomande, from what we've seen, certainly looks the part. Certainly looks like, with a proper pre-season, if we can get it, settling more into the team and Clement's style of play, he looks the type of guy that's got a lot of scope and can really go from strength to strength. So hopefully that's just a precautionary one. It's nothing serious.
Yeah, a few people asking if they can watch the game. I believe that the highlights are going to be on Rangers TV if they are not already, although don't quote me on that. The other line in your match report that might have not impressed many people, Chris, is the fact that maybe signings aren't imminent in the next couple of days. Can you just bring us up to speed with that line? Again, it's one of these things in the transfer window. Maybe sometimes things get pushed back. Rangers have brought a few players in so far, but I guess until until the level of work is done to the squad that people deem suitable going into a new season. And it's important to stress there's a lot of work to do in a short space of time, and that's difficult for the people, Neil Scotland, who's in charge of that. But until more work does happen, this heightened atmosphere is going to remain, isn't it?
I think everyone wants every deal done yesterday. I think the manager's phrase of end of a cycle after the Scottish Cup final, I think that maybe can set expectations of it will be this huge rip it up and start again job. Now, as we mentioned, I do believe it'll be double figures out, double figures in. That's not going to happen overnight. Certainly in terms of getting players out the door, Rangers cannot afford to carry a squad of 40 guys for too long. It's unsustainable in football terms. It's unsustainable in financial terms. So there will have to be a bit of come and go. There will have to be some deals that get done later once other deals are done to take players out of the club. What's the 5 that left in terms of the contracts expiring? Robin McCrory, as we revealed the other day, has now joined Kelly, so Liam Kelly also takes his place. So there is this balancing act that Clement and Neil Scotland have to strike. Neil Scotland is over here. He's part of the travelling party, so he was at the game and watched the action. Did spend a bit of time on his phone, so hopefully that's a good sign. But I think it's MD that just thinks you can click your fingers and you will get 10 guys in through the door. It's not going to happen. Did I expect Rangers to have more deals done by now? Yes. Is time against them? Only in the aspect that the clock is ticking towards those games. But as I've said, almost a weekly basis throughout the summer, it's not really the time to judge the window as a whole. Now, you can judge the players that have come in. You can have the opinions on incomings and outgoings. In terms of assessing the backing that the manager has had, the job that Neil Scotland has done, the way the board have done their business, that can only be done properly with a cool head and a bit of proper analysis. It can only be done once the window has closed.
Yeah, Derek Clark, and I believe it is actually yes, that one says, let's cut to the chase. What is Chris's beer of choice tonight? We're going to let you go, Chris, because you were in the Netherlands, so I think it's only right that you get some time to go and watch the Netherlands against England. But on the topic of Derek's fair point, give us an idea of the next couple of days, what to expect. We know you're going to be speaking to Philippe Clement alongside another couple of members of the media who are out there, and that will be hopefully a good chance for fans to actually hear a little bit more about where the squad is, maybe some topics such as injuries, things that he said, look, I will speak to you about this at the right time. The stadium issue obviously is not his to resolve, and that is one that will continue to ruminate until we find out exactly what has happened. But give us an idea of what the next couple of days holds content-wise for you, and of course you might have to answer Derek's question or you'll be upsetting me.
The next half an hour, hopefully, there's a main square just down from where we are. So next half an hour, plan to go and join the orange crowd that's down there. There's big screens have been put up there down in the square earlier on for a bit of lunch and a coffee, and the van was just there getting the big screen unpacked. So we're going to go and join the locals and watch there. Safe to say they've got slightly more enthusiasm for their game than the Rangers fans had for a goalless draw against Liege. Very much at the polar opposite ends of the spectrum here. I'm officially seeing it all on this trip, so I'm going to go and meet up with the boys. Hopefully get a couple of beers and watch the game tonight. Tomorrow, heading up to the Rangers team hotel up at their training base. Plan is to speak to the manager and a couple of players. You'll be able to see that content on the site and on the YouTube channel over the following couple of days. And then Friday we are heading north up to Zwolle ahead of the game against Ajax on Saturday, and again it's then full coverage, full analysis, pre and post match videos ahead of that one, which should be an interesting game for Rangers. You want to see Rangers stepping up, so that's the plan for the next couple of days. So plenty to come interview wise. Hopefully some news lines. Doesn't sound like there will be much in the way of transfer business, but as we've shown over the course of the window, things can move and develop very, very quickly. So my phone is always on, your phone is always on, and we're doing our best to bring all the latest news. So I urge everyone just to keep their eyes peeled on the site, all our social channels, obviously, and also tune in. We'll be back on in the morning. I'm sure we can get a wee chat about the Dutch game, and then I say preview the press conference, and there will be plenty from that interview with the manager tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go and let Chris enjoy the rest of his night. Remember, the Rangers Review is a place to get all your best content from Rangers pre-season, regardless of how frustrated your frustration levels at the signings. But we're going to have loads of content, hopefully some interesting football and points as well, all the news, everything you could expect. Remember to download the app for free if you have not done so, and subscribe to the website if you've not done that as well. But until then, Chris will be here with Derek in the morning. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll have an extra video as well, looking back a little bit on the media activities, which you can expect at some point tomorrow afternoon. But until then, enjoy the football, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.